Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you're watching this. This is Coffee With, and my name is Lori Krajewski. Today I am meeting Ra'an Oosha for coffee, and this one is going to be a little different from any of my past recordings because we have never met. We don't even live in the same country. We don't know anything about each other. And this is actually really exciting for me because this is one of the reasons why I created this podcast, was because I wanted to meet really interesting people all over the world and learn right along with you who they are, what they bring to the world, what their special gifts are, and why you might want to connect with them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over and ask you to tell us a little bit about you. What I know is your name and that you live in London.
Thank you, Laurie, and it's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I think so at the moment I'm working in nursery schools and I teach meditation. But this has come at the end of a lifelong, what we call the search of trying to find out who we are, where we're from, what this thing called enlightenment awakening is.
I can already tell I'm going to love this conversation.
I spent many an hour reading, studying, trying to find out, listen to other spiritual teachers, the anger, the frustration, what is it? I can't get it, what is it? Many hours, years and days, starting from when I was about 14 or 15, when I remember opening the Eightfold Path on Zen Buddhism. I think I've always been searching even prior to that. So I've come here now, and I think my work now is all about what I call the new way.
Okay.
And the new way, I feel, is to express who we are from who we really are, not these individual separate beings from all over the place with these wants, these desires. And of course, we live in a society where there's so much trauma, so much anxiety, so much frustration that it's suppressing who we really are. And underneath, so who are we really underneath all of these things?
Yes.
And think about it, what we've done as a society, we've done it in spite of the systems against us.
Yes.
So what could we do if we didn't have to spend 20, 30 years clearing out our traumas? What could the possibilities be? And I don't even think we have the imagination yet to even quantify that. It's so extraordinary what could be. It's universal. And one of the great things about doing this podcast, which I think is part of the new way, is that it allows people to get away from the soundbite, the 5-minute, the 2-minute conversations. It allows people to go deeper in. And of course, now we can have conversation with people from all around the world. There's wisdom lying everywhere, and lots of it in the indigenous communities around the world, which we've not looked at all. But one of the extraordinary things that I found is that when I was younger, I thought human beings, we got no chance at all. But I think that was coming from me, the way I viewed the world. Over the last few years, I have seen conversations and posts and stories about energy and vibration, the real history, what really happened, indigenous communities all around the world, what we can eat, vegan, vegetarianism, creating for ourselves, indigenous wisdom, spirituality. I've seen more of this in the last 2 years than I've seen in my whole life. And now I feel that there's an opportunity now for us to create something. Our family is not just the ones close to us in proximity. Our family is people, it could be from United States, Venezuela, Paraguay, Ethiopia, Haiti, everywhere. And we have this chance to do something incredible. And I feel that this new way is that it's to take what we have outside of the meditation hall. So lots of people, they go to meditation and they sit there and they get into that place. But I feel that the real meditation is taking it out into our daily lives. into when you're shopping, when things aren't going that well. That's the real practice. The meditation hall is the preparation for the practice.
Yes.
The real practice is taking this, who you are, and being it in everyday life. And to demystify the word awakening. So I feel that what many people think is that awakening is something and then you get it and you're there.
Yeah.
But awakening is just the beginning. It's the grade 5 level.
Yeah.
And there's a teacher who says, when the journey to God ends, the journey in God begins. So we're now at the beginning. And even that statement is got a force to it, because there's no journey to, because it's what you are.
Yes.
Underneath the layers of beliefs and anxieties and traumas.
And labels.
And
you know, one of the things that I've been really disheartened to see over the last few years is all of the labels that people are putting on themselves to separate themselves from the whole. You know, we're neurodivergent now, and we're not even he and she anymore. We're they, and sometimes we're furry, and sometimes all of these labels that we have put on our human form, in my opinion, completely takes away from who we are in spirit. In spirit, we're all one, right? And when we start separating into these classes and races and religions and economic, socio, all of these different categories, it just strips away and strips away and strips away, bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not unity at all. I don't care that I happen to be a white woman living in the United States. We are all one in spirit, regardless of our form. And I'm talking beyond humanity. It's that God essence that you're talking about that we need to get back to and unite again and just get raw and real again and move that through our lives. I think that's kind of what you're saying too. Or
yes,
you know, cooking can be a meditation. Grocery shopping can be a meditation.
meditation is not what you do, it's who you are. These labels and these beliefs, once you start looking at them, they fall like Jimi Hendrix castles made of sand.
Yes.
They fall away because there's nothing to them. It's a mental concept, an idea that keeps them there. But when you really examine this, so I'm this, I'm that, I'm good at this, and I'm not good at that. A lot of time that can go back to look at the trauma as a child, and we've created these defense mechanisms, which is why one of the reasons I think one of the great revolutionaries, I think, of our time is Gabor Mate, on his work on trauma.
I love him.
And his work is is gonna tear apart all in regards to how trauma affects you in regards to the coping mechanisms, how it affects your body, your way of thinking, these illnesses, how we suppress the anger and how that comes out. And to understand all this will take us in a completely new way. So let's stop for a second. The system wants us going back and forth. The material, buy this, take this, you know, you gotta have this. Let's stop and look. Let's breathe. And sit there for a second and ask the question, is it really so?
Yeah.
I might even believe it's so, but even if I believe it, is that belief have any substance to it?
Yes.
And take that time to really look and look at the emotions that are going on through your body, because these emotions, whether they be anger, they can be healthily expressed just by a change in the way we frame our language. So for instance, one simple way is that we've been brought up saying, I feel angry, I'm jealous, or I'm anxiety. What about if we change it and say, anger is being felt? it totally frees you then, allows you to healthily let it through. I think, I can't remember who it was, and he said, when two swans fight, as soon as they go away, they flap their wings to get the anxiety out of them. That's a healthy expression.
Yeah. And
What
dogs
about,
shake or animals shake and they shake it off. Yeah.
And there's that system called, I think it's called tremor release, when you actually bring on the tremor in yourself, and that is a very powerful healing mechanism as well. So it's just to look at a new way. Let's stop. And we're not alone. Sometimes we've also thought that we're alone in thinking this way, but these conversations that we're having, and look at the remarkable thing about this conversation. I met Kelly Meehan, and Kelly Meehan knows you, and I speak with you. We're connected. Then I will speak with someone else. Someone who knows me will now know you, and we're creating these relationships. So what happens in the future with me, we might work together, or you and Kelly, or someone else that we've met through, and it creates an extraordinary, powerful team, community. Our community is out there. It's just waiting for us to sing.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't agree more. And I love that you're working with children, because so often I've said, if we were just taught as children to better understand what we feel and what to do with those feelings. I feel, this is just my opinion, but I feel when we start learning language, we stop shutting down, we start shutting down the emotions. You know, we start using words instead. We stop throwing tantrums, we stop crying, we stop feeling. And now we've moved into words. Those feelings don't go anywhere. They're just kind of shoved in a corner somewhere. But, you know, as we move through our childhood, we don't have any tools to effectively deal with what we still feel. But now we're not allowed to feel them because it's not socially appropriate to throw tantrums at school or at the restaurant or in the store. We have to use our words now. But where do all of those feelings go? And how beautiful is it if we just, like you said, if you just teach children, anger is being felt right now, sadness is being felt right now. What can we do with that? Can we pound on some drums? Can we work with some molding clay to really get that out? What can we do to learn to effectively move through and complete those emotions that we're all going to feel, and until we don't, right? until we go through 40 years of who am I, why am I here, and why do I feel this way? Wouldn't it be beautiful if we could just do that on an elementary, fundamental, toddler level, and just grow healthy humans right from the start?
It'd be extraordinary. And it seems to be we're on a cusp of a change where the systems of school, as we have it, some guy at the front pounding you with so-called facts, which is a lot of his opinion, and you're asked to regurgitate them. You're never asked questions. I mean, what's the primal force? A question I was never asked in school was, what is love? But from the moment a newborn baby is born, that's the paramount. So why is that not the paramount in our conversations? What is energy? Also, what is listening? There's listening, but then there's something, there's a deeper quality to it. What is that? So how can we go through so-called school, university, college, and not even address the primary of two people conversing? So these whole sisters will have to fall. And when we're speaking, fortunately, I'm with 3 and 4 year olds. I'm with them at the time when, just before they're going to get into, we will teach them, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. They're going to be taught that in a couple of years. I'm not as good as Johnny down the road. I'm not as good as Freddie. They're going to be taught that by us. I have them at this time where let's sing, and they sing. Let's create, let's dance, let's do this, it's art. And a major thing that I told Kelly Meehan was, I've never met a 3-year-old who can't sing or can't dance, who can't draw, who can't paint, who's not a scientist. I've never met one. So what happens to us at 5 and 6 and 7?
Yes.
And another extraordinary thing is that when you're in this place, I've heard statements of, let's return to the child mind. We don't need to. All there is the child mind, but it's been suppressed with so much anxiety, trauma, and so on. That's what it's our natural state. So being around 3 and 4-year-old teachers also allows things that in my side of myself to come up, to practice and to learn, because then the idea, another thing maybe to get rid of or to move beyond, I would say probably, is the idea of a teacher. There are teachers wherever you go in life, and you're going to find them in the most unlikely of places. It could be someone sitting on a park bench in a coffee shop. It could be the great scientist. It could be the reader of a book. It could be the guitar player, the drama teacher. It could be, as one of my great teachers was a road sweeper in China, who I never met, who never met me. But I was in China many years ago, and I saw this guy sweeping the streets as if it was the most incredible job in the world. And I saw him go across the street because there was a twig that shouldn't have been there. And he picked it up and put it in his bag.
Wow.
Now, we never met this guy, and I. Doesn't know who I am. I've recounted this story many times, but what a great teacher.
Yeah.
What a great metaphor for life.
Yeah.
Now, his job in our Western way of looking at it may be a menial job, but what an extraordinary job it is, approached in that way.
I agree. It doesn't matter what the job is. If it is your job, you should do it well, right? And do it with thought and purpose and intent.
Let's find out, let's discover, let's be creative. Let's do the Alice in Wonderland 6 impossible things before breakfast. Yeah, let's play. Play is our natural way of being. You see it in animals. You see baby bears together and they play as learning. And sometimes I'm thinking, as adults, wherever that word means, I don't know. But as adults,
I call it children in large bodies.
Yeah, we've forgotten the play aspect. We've forgotten the just to have fun and to let loose. What happens if we see a puddle? Now we just go around it. We don't want to get wet. It's horrible. But what happens if I'm not saying every day, but occasionally it might be good to jump into that puddle.
Yeah. And
just to see and just have fun and look at the ripples in the puddle. Look at the reflections in the puddle. Look at the colors the puddle brings. And look what science can come from that. Look what mathematics can come from that. The nature of the universe can come from that. And you can ask questions about it. And let's question. Let's ask why. The question, I feel, is more important than the answer. The question can lead you off into many different avenues. So maybe the thing in teaching is not have the answer, but find the greatest question. What is the question that will allow the evolution of whatever it is you're talking about? What is that question? Because there is a great question all the time.
Yes.
And let's find it. And let's be inquisitive. Let's open our hearts and our minds to people we meet. Let's learn, constantly learning.
Mhm.
I was saying to my friend the other day is that, you know what, it's two things. Let's have fun and let's learn. Apart from that, you can't lose.
Yeah, I agree. I joke that I am the queen of questions because I mean, my whole life, I've always wanted to know more, more outside of this human experience. There's a lot about this human experience I don't quite understand. And that has led me to ask a lot of questions, right? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What is the purpose of this world? What is the purpose of humanity right now at this time? What is the purpose of me asking all of these questions? And it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like you said, kind of Alice in Wonderland, you fall down this hole and it just leads to more and more and more and more questions. And I've got some pretty, I've traveled pretty far out there with a lot of these questions, as I imagine you have as well. And a lot of them came from having my own child. And boy, has he been the greatest teacher. I can't even find the words for how wide he blasted my world open in the most beautiful way. Because like you said, when you're around children again, part of you goes back to that time in your life when you were their age and helps you reflect on things that were beautiful and not so beautiful, right? It can rip open some wounds that you didn't have the tools to heal at that time. Now you have an opportunity to heal, but you also have the opportunity to remember how much you like to paint and maybe take that and run with it, or how much you like to cook and take that and run with it. And having my own child was cathartic. Not just the birthing process, and what that really showed me how we can use our mind with our body and co-create something, but just the energy and the power that is experienced when you are bringing a life into this world. And you talked about the tremor. Wow. I think I shook for 25 minutes. Yeah. The energy was so intense. I had full body tremors for almost a half an hour. It was the most intense thing I've ever experienced. Thankfully, I was not on drugs. So I was present for the whole thing, the whole experience. Much of it was my eyes closed because I was somewhere else while I was experiencing this full body experience, right? But that somewhere else that I don't personally really know how to label was crucial at that moment. And it wasn't something I intentionally did. It was something that I had visited many times before I actually gave birth, but it was, in a way, it was a meditative birth, for lack of a better way to describe it. Ushering in some kind of energy, something through me out into this world was such a trip. And like I said, there were no drugs. I wasn't imagining this. It was a thing. And it was really beautiful. And that got me down into a wormhole of how much are people missing out when they do this with drugs, and what are they ushering in? Now, and I'm not judging any woman who needs a little assistance getting through that. I'm not judging at all, but it's just one of the many, 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 many things that I've learned in the past 24 years our son has been with us. So I can only imagine what you're learning from the littles that you're working with.
It's interesting as well. We spoke about this on my podcast. We had some people on and we were talking about how, what kind of society will force parents to go out straight away to work in that most important nurturing time, or even worse, make them feel guilty about staying at home and enjoying this time. because look what's been created. It's something, a new life has been created. And you want to force them out to do something, or, you know, we're not supportive of other people. We're not supportive of, you know, of ideas and feelings and expressing. So we grow up not feeling that we can express, we can talk about things. Because when you see that even the most natural of things, even natural of feelings, we're demonized for. And it says so much for the structures that are. And a lot of them are toxic.
Yeah.
Extremely toxic.
Yeah.
To just living and breathing in this world. A tiny few may earn through monetary, through you know, power and capital. The system as it is, the majority of people are not. And they're left out. So, and if there is this oneness, and not if there is, in oneness, we embrace all of it. So it's how our relationships are with each other, with the environment, with the trees, with the animals. It will be totally, completely different. But if we start at the beginning, when you're not even nurtured with your own newborn, then what are we saying? Yeah. So let's look at, so I think it's down to us now, because I don't think we can look at the structures that are to do it for us. We've tried for hundreds of years. So it's down to individuals, wherever they may be, and saying, you know, I'm going to live this way, because how you are will inspire people, and you won't even know that you inspired them. And you don't need to know. Yeah. It will be, you may say a single word today, Lori, and somebody in 5 years' time will watch this and they're going to go, wow, that's it. That's it. And it may not have even been the word, it may have been what you're energetically projecting. Right. So let's stop looking for others to do it for us. Yes. Because the family that we have is larger than what we ever think or felt. Yes. There's millions out there, and we don't need to change everyone. So we don't need to go around preaching, you know, like because you're preaching, oh, I'm awake, and you don't need to do that at all, because they will come at their own pace. Yes. But there are thousands, millions out there who want to go the new way. And I feel that the only way is the new way. But because we've been so much suppressed through the centuries that we think it's amazing, oh, this awakening. No, this is just the beginning. Let's do it ourselves. And it starts from the single conversation. It starts from sharing. It starts from people like us and other people out there getting together, talking about these things, living it in life. So imagine tomorrow you went to the supermarket and you're standing there in deep meditation. There may be 20 people who say, what, she's crazy. But there's going to be one who goes, wow. Yeah. Wow. And this one goes home and says, you know what I saw today, Mum? I saw this lady, she's just standing there. And you know what? She wasn't perturbed by anything. And the mum goes, what, are you sure? She says, yeah, she looks so calm and relaxed. And the mum goes, really? That's interesting. And this little person may not fully understand it, but he goes somewhere in 4 years' time and does the same thing. Because there's a great power in doing the meditation out there in the world, is that the stillness becomes so evasive, it becomes so inconclusive that you see the moving around and you start looking around, wow, did I used to do that? Wow. And you're sitting there in just, not in a judging, not in a putting down, not in a superior, but it just is a looking. Observation. And it's extraordinary, the power of this public meditation, this taking it out there, because you never know who you're going to affect. You never know. And always keep that on board. Whenever you feel alone and you're on your own, there are people out there who would love, not even willing to listen to you, would love to listen to your stories. And one of the resurgent things I think is going to be the resurgence of indigenous native stories, the storyteller, of recounting how we move through life through metaphor. And the metaphor, the beautiful thing about metaphor is that the wiser you get, the more you understand the metaphor. So
Yes.
it's always elevating you.
Yes.
And so let's start telling our stories and not feeling shy about things that you may have gone through, because what you may have gone through, if expressed and told, you would affect somebody who says, I'm not alone. Someone understands me. And even that is just, it sounds simple, but it's so extraordinary.
It really is extraordinary to somebody who's feeling alone. And I'm sure along your journey, there were plenty of times when you felt alone. I certainly did. And one of the reasons why I do the work that I do is because I didn't have the support that I needed. And it was an extremely excruciating, lonely road. Many of my friends couldn't continue the journey with me. I lost many friends. I lost family members along the way, and I almost lost my marriage and my family alone because of my journey in illness and not being able to figure out how to get my body back on board. And I couldn't agree with you more that it is crucial that we share our experiences with others. Even if we just make it a tiny bit easier and a tiny bit less lonely, we've accomplished something. To give people tools that they didn't have any idea existed, that they might be able to use on their journey to help them heal, whether it's a trauma that they went through, or just a certain medical test that will help them launch them onto a new path of healing, or like you said, meditation. And meditation can be really, really misunderstood, right? A lot of people have given it a new age connotation that involves the demonic realm and all of these ideas about what meditation is. And it's unfortunate that people might overlook a tool that could save their life because of society's ideas that have been put onto it and have been overlaid onto. It's merely a tool. It's no different than a chainsaw. A chainsaw can kill people, but it can also cut down trees. I mean, we can turn anything good bad. We can turn anything bad good with our overlays of our ideas and all of these ideas and all of these labels. If we strip away every adjective we use to describe ourselves and every idea we have about prayer or meditation or yoga or medication or supplements or exercise or diet, if we strip away everything, get out of our brain, drop all the way down into our heart, who are we? That's what I want to talk about. Leave your brain, fall into your heart. Tell me who you are. That's what I see as what you say, the new way. I don't want to hear the monkeys in the circus. I got plenty monkeys in my own circus. I don't want to hear your ideas. I don't want to hear what you do for a living. I don't. Drop out of your head, fall down into your heart, and speak. Who are you? What do you bring to this world? And some of that is important to, talk about where we came from. And I had a really bumpy road. I'm not shy about the things that I experienced in my life, but I don't carry it with me energetically in my body to continue having that experience. I only carry it in thought form so people can relate to what I've been through, so they don't feel so alone. And most importantly, so they've got promise that it can change. That they've got an example. I'm merely one example of thousands that you can change your life, but it does take some work. It doesn't just fall in your lap. It doesn't just come in a pill or one meditation and your whole life is transformed. I mean, I know Eckhart Tolle experienced that, but that's not the norm, right?
Yeah.
It takes a bit of work.
And another thing as well is that we hear of these spiritual teachers sometimes who they're on a park bench and then woof,
Yeah.
they just got there, yes.
Yeah.
And when we see them, they're in this demeanor, yes, which is, that's who they are, yes.
Yeah.
But what it is, but then we get an elevated idea of them because we don't see them with their mum or their niece or someone calling them. We don't see them in that place.
Exactly.
So we create and this idea of they're walking around and singing to the lights every day. One of the greatest teachings I got was a non-teaching. I went to see a great teacher called Rupert Spira.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I went to see him. So how I got to meet him was another one of these amazing coincidences. So the greatest teaching I got from him was a non-teaching. So I'm due at the meeting at 7 o'clock. He's meant to start, but I'm early. So I go to the coffee shop at 6:15. And I have Rupert's book with me. So I'm sitting there reading his book. I look up and there's Rupert Spira sitting there with a friend talking.
Wow.
So I'm there and I've got his book. So I'm kind of like, yeah. So, but no one is looking at him as if he's just this great being and just a normal guy. So afterwards, he leaves and we go into the place now. And he goes up to the chair on the top and he's talking. And I see this adulation from people. But I had seen this before and it dismantled all of my own preconceptions.
Yes.
And I realized even before I heard him speak live, that was what it was, that the greatest lesson I got from him. So now I listened, not with this, he's this, but I listened because he is me and I am him. And I saw it for myself.
Yes.
I didn't take this projection, which I had previously with me. And these projections, what happens is sometimes is that, I think it was Krishnamurti who says, when we meet people, we meet the images that we have of them and their images they have of us. So what happens is these two images are talking, we could just walk off and let these images talk. That's what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't really get to meet someone because of our projections of what we think they are and who they think they are. And we're conversing on illusions.
Yes. Yes. And
they're totally manufactured. So we never get to find out who are you, but in turn, who am I in meeting you?
Yes. Yes. And very few people understand how to truly listen. They listen just enough to develop a response, but they don't really listen. I mean, there's so many times when people are talking that I can hear between the lines, and I hear what they're really saying, and I hear things behind their words, and I often can't speak because I literally don't know what to say because I'm hearing so many different levels of what they're saying. What if we all listened that way? What if we all truly heard somebody's heart and responded from our own? It would be such a different world. We wouldn't have adoration. We wouldn't be putting people on a pedestal. We would be on the same level with all people all the time. Just, I know I'm going off in a Alice in Wonderland hole again, but it's a really graphic example of how we might put a favorite author, or one of the people that I think of often is Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? He's transformed his entire life with the power of his own mind. That's really respectable, right? But Joe is still Joe. Joe still drinks his coffee in the morning, or maybe smoothies or whatever. Joe still puts his pants on one leg at a time, and he probably, drives to the grocery store just like everybody else. And let's not adore Joe. Let's not put him up on some palace that's unreachable, that we don't even deserve to visit. Joe's just Joe. And he has a beautiful gift. Don't adore Joe so much that we miss the gift. And like you said, it might not come from his book at all. It might not come from his meditations at all. It might come from watching him eat pizza. And
definitely.
And, and that can be said in the reverse. I have met some very popular doctors in the last couple of years. There's a lot of doctors that are speaking out about what's been going on in our world. And a lot of them have garnered a lot of attention and a lot of fans and a lot of admirers. And when you sit down and have dinner with them and get to know them just a tiny bit, it might be quite shocking that they're not perhaps who you think they are, and they are not worthy of adoration. And I say this very gently because I don't believe in adoration. I don't want anyone to adore me. I don't want anyone to admire me. I want people to hear my heart and get in tune with theirs. And it's really got nothing to do with who I am, or whether I've written a book or not, or how many initials are behind my name. It's like you said earlier, if there's one thing that I can offer that touches somebody's heart, that's what I want to offer. I don't think it is about adoration. And yes, we can respect someone because they've written maybe quite a few books. I think of Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's written quite a few books that have had a huge impact on me. But if I had ever had the opportunity to meet Dr. Wayne, I might not have liked him. That's okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't admire somebody so much that you might have missed a lot of gifts that they had to offer outside of what they wrote, or how they put their pants on, or what exercise program they use, or all of the things. Just take what makes your heart sing and run with it, and maybe share that with other people. And the chain goes on, right? It kind of goes back to sharing our stories and who we are, and maybe we can make an impact in the most subtle, gentle ways of just being who we are. And sometimes disrupting the status quo. There's so many times in the area that we live in, it's a very small community. It's almost like going back 30 years. People are not very open and not very welcoming, and not very techy, and still very, it's like 1970s here. I don't know how, I don't know why. There just hasn't been a lot of change here. And a lot of times when we go out to eat, or when we go to an establishment, we'll disrupt it. We just get goofy and start dancing like weirdos and playing pool really obnoxiously, or something to disrupt what's going on there, and disrupt the energy, and shake it up, and move the dust around, and get people out of their chairs, and just be goofy. Sometimes that can have the biggest impact. And the one thing that I'm grateful for is I've done enough healing that I'm back to my goofball self. I can get goofy again. I don't feel so miserable anymore that I can get goofy again, and I can be silly again. And that, I didn't realize that I had lost that. I had lost my sense of humor for a long time. I had lost a big part of me. And I can be really awkward and really goofy. And I use that to break the ice and get people giggling. And I don't care if they point and laugh, even better. If you point and laugh at me, even better, because I got a giggle out of you.
Yeah, yeah. And also, it's an amazing thing just to sometimes just sit down and say, you know what, man, I'm crazier than I ever thought. And there was the other day when I'll tell you the other day I was going out somewhere. I was meant to go somewhere, but I had these thoughts coming, you know what, I feel a bit tired. I don't really want to go. You know what, I don't wait. I stopped and I thought, oh my God, the amount of excuses I could come up with. I came up with about 10 excuses in 10 seconds. Wow, the craziness of this. I went in the end because these thoughts are, they're part of my upbringing past of, being whatever it was, yes. And they're there and it takes time for them to come out. But once you see them and you say, wow, I see how really crazy you are. And to laugh at yourself is just one of the great gifts. To laugh at yourself and to see it and to just be honest. And that's one of the things I like as well about Gabor Mate. He says his own addictions and what he went through, and he says it all. And even laugh at yourself, because that's in a way that sometimes I think spirituality can be a great hiding place of the ego. Because now you can, oh yes, it's all, something's happened to you, and instead of you feel anger, it's okay. Oh yes, breathe deep, so that can happen. And to laugh at that part as well and go beyond that now. Let's see it. I mean, there was a time when I loved having the books on my mantelpiece. I loved it. It's part of my identity of reading, and this is what I did. And you know what, I enjoyed it, but it was a crutch I held on to, and I had the label of this person, but it wasn't real. It was an idea, something that the small me wanted to project. So, and just to be honest about these things.
And it's interesting how many times I've had conversations really similar to this, and almost everybody says the same things. We get to this point and we think we've arrived somewhere, and we do all of the books and we think we've arrived somewhere, and we do this and we think we have arrived somewhere. And then we grow into this wisdom where we realize how silly we were. And like you said, you have all of these ideas and all of these resistances, and I don't necessarily see it as crazy. I just see it as resistance, really. And how many times have you had 10 excuses not to do something? You observed your human mind trying to wiggle out of that for whatever reasons you were being resistant to it. You went, and it was cathartic. Maybe not even just for you, but for that other, usually for me, it's always that other person. It has become my lesson now. When I don't want to do something, I know I have to go, because I know I have something to bring. It's almost never for me, even though whatever it is that I have to bring is always for me too. It's been my barometer. My resistance is my barometer. I best get my butt over there because something's waiting to happen. And whatever that something is 9 times out of 10 something I've been through that I can offer to someone else. And they always leave moved. What would have happened if I would have listened to all of that resistance and all those little monkeys trying to get out of that situation, and I didn't go? I know you've had those experiences.
And I love what you say there, because your book, your podcast may not have anything to do with you.
Right. Exactly.
It's that person
Yes.
who you'll never meet.
Yes.
Who will take what you've done. And that's why I think in this time is to be as creative as you can. Do what you can, because I think we are creative. We're naturally creative. I mean, you see it, and you don't have to really question it, because you see it from the tiniest child. They want to do things. They want to build with bricks. They want to draw. They want to see colors. So that's in us. So allow this creativity out and express it out. because and get rid of this good, bad, right or wrong. It doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Express it. Go into the science of it. So what I think has been amazing recently, that because of this internet and YouTube, we now have access to quantum physicists talking about the
Yes.
nature of reality.
Yes.
Imagine in our school if we had quantum physics and the nature of the reality, and
Yes.
we're going back and forth, and you're seeing these quantum physicists say, you know, is the world really out there? I don't think it is. And we have a discussion with that. Or the higher mathematical principles of the nature of the universe, on the atom being empty space. That would blow our minds growing up if we had these conversations. But and these conversations are not airy-fairy conversations. They are the conversations of life.
Yeah.
They are the way that we go forward. So these conversations are everyday conversations. They are over the breakfast table, the talking of vibration and energy, because that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I just read this morning that they have this new thing is about people sleeping on beehives, because of the sound of the beehive, the vibration, the energy helps people relax.
Wow.
And I just read this morning. Or something the other day, I saw people putting copper wiring around sticks and putting it into the ground, which makes their vegetables grow faster.
Wow.
It's energy.
Yeah.
Look at all these things going on. These are everyday conversations.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's express it. What's your idea? Where are you going to go? Let's listen. The skill of listening, the skill of it.
Yes.
The understanding of it. All these things are really revolutionary, evolutionary.
Yeah, they really are. And I love quantum conversations. I absolutely love it. Many, many times, there's only 3 of us in our family. It's just my husband and my son and I. But many times we sit out by the fire. We almost always end up looking at the sky, and we all go quantum and just have these mind-blowing, shattering conversations. That's the juice of life in my world. That's the stuff I want to talk about, because it really, in my opinion, that's what connects us. Quantum entanglement is a real thing. The quantum field is a real thing. And if we understood that more in our lives, I think we would feel a whole lot less anxious. We'd feel a whole lot less depressed. We'd feel a lot less burden. We wouldn't care so much what other people think on social media, and we wouldn't even notice the cruel people that social media can bring, and the things that they say would have zero impact on us, because it just doesn't matter. You know, for so many years, I've been hiding. I've been hiding because I am an empath. I didn't even know what an empath was. I didn't understand that whole thing. And I didn't understand why I felt so many things just because I would take my body somewhere, or I would put something online and just get blasted for it. And I felt that there was just a lot that I didn't understand. And the more that I could understand, and the more that I would go quantum, and the more that I would really leave this human experience, the more I was able to bring to it. And really just don't care anymore, and just put it out there. And like you said, next year, 5 years, maybe 10 years, if we still have internet in 10 years, maybe somebody's going to see this video and go, that's it. I didn't know the words for it, but that was it. That's exactly it. Whatever it is for that one person at that one time, right? That's why we do these things. And that's why we quantum entangle with one another, and help people sometimes understand their own thoughts, that they don't have anybody else to talk to about, and they don't have any reference for. Maybe this conversation with us today helps them understand themselves a little better, right?
Yeah, definitely, because we are, sometimes the idea is that we think that we're small, which is the problem. The real issue, I think, is we are greater than we have ever imagined.
So much greater.
Imagine consciousness expressing itself through this body called Ra'an Oosha to the infinite knowing, to create what in this world, in this life, no inhibition there's out there to do extraordinary things. And I like what you said as well, because it just doesn't matter. So we create matter, we materialize it. Yes. So if we change our thoughts, what can we create?
Yes.
And I'm at this moment here in time, in this reference to the new way of what can we do? And if we have this laser focus, because the system wants us to be going back and forth, and you want to do this and then buying this or doing this, and he's terrible, he's terrible. But if we're laser focused, laser, and we're there, and we're intuitively going to connect with others who are having the same feelings and thoughts, what is there? So there's excitement, there's joy. Yes, there's still that same understanding. There's a lot of messed up things going on, a lot. But I think we're more powerful from this place of creativity and joy to fix those things, rather than being drawn into the negative. Oh, it's too, because I think the idea that is too big, that is nothing we can do about it, has been trained into us.
Yep.
So if we come from this, then we can look at the travesties and horrors that we see in this world, but from a different viewpoint, and not in regards to I'm saving that person. No, we're opening up, and now we're going to speak what we feel. We're going to talk about it. We're going to mention these things, because now we don't have the fear of being ostracized, because now we don't care.
Right.
And I think we do more in that frame of being than we ever do of the doom and gloom. Stories, let's not, it's not around going around in blissful state and singing kumbaya all the time. No. Yeah, we're real. We're real with it. We're real.
And exactly, what good does that blissful state do if you're not doing anything other than sitting in isolation and bliss, right? Bring that bliss with you. Bring it with you. And you're gonna, and just through being that, we're gonna have the strength and the courage to do things that we never thought we would do. Change things, talk about things, mention things. It won't matter how many viewers you have or who doesn't like you, because you're always going to get knocks. In fact, on this path, you'll be criticized a lot. Yes. In this road, you're going to have lots and lots of people who will try and tear down everything that you've tried to say. Yep. But yes, they have. But from here, that's okay. Yeah. It's really okay. It's so okay. It's okay. We're not speaking the same language. It's so okay. That's okay. And thank you, even, because it's maybe even giving me, am I still going to get drawn into that? Yeah. So the lesson is I've learned something now in having this kind of, I'm not getting drawn into that anymore. I don't even feel vibrationally tugged by it anymore. Yes. You just move on, and we're learning, and we're just at the beginning. We just opened the door, there's a crack, and we're moving through. And the crack is going to get wider and wider and wider. And who knows what the next, how we're going to be. But it's not going to be, it's going to be something that we maybe not even have imagined. It's our connection to life, with a connection with life and expressing it. So let's live in regards, it's too short a time of the body, in this extraordinary vehicle of the body, to spend 50, 60 years of working, doing this for somebody else, and being depressed and being happy and not enjoying your life or enjoying your job, and anxieties. Let's use it, this limited time that we have, and let's express ourselves.
and let's see if we can find the joy in the things. And if there is no joy, let's find the listening and compassion and the understanding in how we can live. And let's do that.
Absolutely.
Because the old way, it didn't work.
Yeah, it's not working and it's crumbling. So don't get caught up in the crumble. Get caught up in the rebuild.
Yes, it is crumbling. It is crumbling. You see it all around. There's more information that's come out in the last few weeks than it's had in hundreds of years.
Yes.
It's coming out as an avalanche. And you're seeing as well, really interesting things. You're seeing 14, 15-year-olds talking about the nature of reality and who we are and their connection to the universe.
Yeah.
And you're seeing this. You're seeing people having conversations that, I never saw when I was growing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. An avalanche of books and study. You got people who you didn't think, they go into quantum physics and who's Neil Bohr and the nature of reality. And now this is being taught about. And color therapy, light therapy, sound and vibration. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always want to bring around in our conversations solutions and what we can do, right? One of the things that I offer is quantum nutraceuticals. This is something that's never been offered before. Have you ever heard of quantum nutraceuticals before? It's really understanding the quantum field, quantum entanglement, and bringing that into the nutraceutical industry, right? So that's one of the things that I offer to people to help heal. And again, it's not something that was ever a thing even 3 years ago. It wasn't even a thing. So we are definitely moving into a completely new, but never before that we're aware of, way of living. What are some of the ways that you have used to propel yourself forward? Do you have some favorite authors? Have you been to seminars? What do you offer solutions to people in the work that you might do, that they can start shifting away from the crumble and into their own authentic selves in their own authentic lives?
Firstly, what I think I come from is an understanding that how I act is one of the greatest things. So in the last few years,
you walk your talk.
Yeah, so last few years, I've created the podcasts. I've started drawing, I started painting, I started singing, to go where I haven't been, to have conversations I've never had, to listen to what's going on inside here, to do some of the work, to understand some of the trauma that I grew up with, and some of them I didn't even know was trauma, that I looked at and I thought, wow. Yeah. One of the great, if I could give one tool, so one tool I use, and I did it by accident, I was writing a story about, and I called it Message to My 8-Year-Old Self. And I was just writing a story. I thought it was, interesting idea, great story, let's write it. And I wrote a piece to my 8-year-old self. And when I finished it, I realized I had let go of something. And it wasn't that I was writing to another person, but I was myself in here. And because time is an illusion. So in that moment, I was that person and you let it go. And so there's a real thing that you can do is write. If you have gone through something, write a letter to that person, because the realization of it happens now. Time is illusion, happens now. And in that write, whatever you've gone through, say it's okay to that 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old, however it was. It's okay. And there's an immediate benefit, an immediate letting go of it. And that tool I came upon totally by accident is, I think, one of the great tools in letting things go. And I think what you said as well is, someone asked me once, what's the best thing to get past racism? And I said, listen to what the person is telling you without trying to fix them.
Yes.
If you just, somebody comes to you with something they've gone through, what they want is for you to listen.
Yes.
What they don't want is for you, are you sure that happened? Are you really sure? No, they don't want, listen to them.
And I would say that's true across the board.
Yes.
Don't gaslight them.
Yeah.
And if you still don't understand, if they've shared their story with you and you still don't understand, ask them to elaborate. Tell me more about that. Help me really understand this. I think it's the best way. And that's the best way we've gotten through our marriage. Seriously, because you think you understand, you live with this person and you've been married for, my gosh, we've been married for a really long time. And there's still, sometimes I look at him and I think, I don't get you. There's still a gap sometimes. If there's a gap, listen. There's a lot I don't know about other religions. There's a lot about I don't know about a lot of other cultures. And sometimes I don't even know how to ask because I don't even want to generate a question that might be offensive, you know? So I just say, tell me more. Tell me more about that. I sincerely want to know, but I don't want to offend in the process of asking the question. Yeah.
That's a nice way in. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Because you find that people are really love speaking. And you know what, it's really cathartic to have someone who's there for you. Yeah. There's something in that which you like. And I saw this as a project, I think it's in Holland, and they have living libraries where older people go there and they will tell their stories. And I think maybe this should be a worldwide thing, especially because, and especially in the indigenous communities around the world, to just listen to them and hear their stories. Yeah. And unfortunately, we let too many people transition without hearing what they've had to say. Yeah. I think maybe we should kind of create these living libraries wherever we go. Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Because we're all, you know, even just in your work as you're with the kids, we all just want to be heard. And in being heard, we are validated that our experience is important. And I think as adults who are on this path, who are seeking enlightenment, a lot of that kind of falls aside. You know, I don't need to be important anymore. As a kid, going through all of those psychological phases and those Oedipus phases, we did need to be important. As an adult, I don't need to be important. I don't need anybody to know my name. But what I do hope is that somebody, like I said before, somebody feels a little less lonely. Somebody does feel like they have connected and that there was some purpose and there was some meaning to that connection. And when we're talking about the older community, there's a lot of wisdom to be tapped into. We don't even, in my opinion, we don't even get to call ourselves wise until we're in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Don't be 20 thinking you're wise. Life hasn't beat you up enough yet. Yeah, I mean, I learned that lesson firsthand. Me too. My grandmother passed away before I knew her as Gran, but I didn't know Mary. And so what happened was years passed and I began to hear stories about the things that she did. And I was like, I had no idea. I had this image of her. And if I was to go back now, I'll have 1,000 questions, 1,000 to ask and to talk to her and to speak to her and to find out things, and just the way she cooked, the way she sang, the way things that she did, the interesting life that she had before she was Gran. Yes. Yeah. Lots of knowledge there to take part of. And you know what, but even that was a great learning process, because I realized that I didn't do that then. So let's not do that again. Just not did it again. Yeah. So let's,
Yeah.
So So it's, two things, isn't it? I didn't do it then, but now I'm listening.
Note to self. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Note to selves.
Yeah. So when we're finished recording, I will get any links that you're willing to share with people. If you share your art, if you share your music, if you share any of your writing, we'll get the links that people can connect with you and see what you offer. Do you work with people at all outside of your work with kids? Do you teach meditation somewhere? Are you a music teacher? What do you?
So what, at the moment, I created a theatre company last year. So part of it. So I'm writing plays and writing stories. So and that will be put up onto my Instagram or whatever it is. So I mean, so if I was freed to do all of these things, and so and I have the podcast of course, which is just amazing. Long form discussion, long form conversation is what I love.
Yeah.
It allows you to really get to know people. And Lori, I mean, this is for you as well. Let's keep in contact. Let's share and let's discuss. Let's engage with other people. Let's create this, our community. And we come together sometimes, and other times we're going to go our different ways, but other times we'll come together. And let's keep this going. And I think that's really important of the work that people are doing, wherever we may be. The community is out there. We don't need to find them. They will come to us, and let's converse, have conversation. Let's sing in the universal rhythm.
I love that. I love that. And I absolutely do want to continue, because I feel like we're just starting to get to know each other, and there's a whole lot more that you have to offer. I can clearly see that. So I would love to talk to you again in the future. But definitely love to learn more and more and more about all of the things that we haven't even had a chance to talk about yet. So definitely keep the conversations going. I intentionally didn't listen to any of your podcasts because I wanted this to be kind of a real, authentic, hey, let's meet this guy for coffee and see what he's about. And now I'm going to go listen to some of your podcasts and learn more.
Because I'm pretty much the same as you in regards to the podcast. I never have rearranged questions. I like to play free jazz, and you never know where you're going to go. So, of course, you probably had it as well. You have somebody on and you think you're going to talk about one thing, and you're going off in a completely different direction, but it's perfect for what it's supposed to be. So you never know. And that's the juice. What did I think he says in the film, The Dead Poet Society, they sucked the marrow out of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so many times I've had conversations, even with people that I do know. I've had coffee with people in person, and I think, man, I wish I had that recorded. There were some really amazing bits of that conversation that sometimes I feel kind of just come through you. They're not even your own thought. They just kind of come through, and I don't remember them.
No.
And I really wish some of those conversations had been recorded. And, when you go back to your childhood and you think, well, what did you want to do when you were a kid? I don't know how to answer that. I don't remember what I enjoyed as a kid. And I think a lot of that is because of trauma. But what do I love most? This is what I love most. I love most just having a cup of coffee with somebody and seeing where the conversation goes. So why not do that? And heaven forbid we learn a thing or two from one another that we get to share with the whole world that ends up deciding to watch this. Bonus.
Definitely. And like what you said, when you kind of realize that it's not by you, it comes through you, then we don't have ownership. It's freeing. You're freed from these things that's on you. It's free from these expectations, beliefs, ideas, concepts, labels, because they're these weights that can, they're there to tie you down, to bring you down to this 3D materialist world. But there's so much more, and let's have the excitement on just what's out there. Let's see. And in your work in science, they're going to push in these boundaries. Let's see. Let's just go out there. Let's ask the question, because we're all scientists. We're all creative individuals. We're all mathematicians. I mean, you know, I once spoke to someone who said, "Oh, I'm no good at maths." But I said to him, "Well, you just crossed the road. That's mathematics. That's meters. That's time. That's space. And you just did it without even thinking about it. That's maths."
Yeah.
So you're one of the great mathematicians of all time because you can cross the road. Wow. You just did something. In fact, you just traveled through time.
Yeah.
Yeah. How incredible is that? And you didn't even think about it.
Right.
So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up there. If anybody is interested in joining the conversation and anybody would like to meet me for coffee, I would love to hear all of the things. I would love to hear what you've got to share, what you've got to offer, and reach out to me. And like I said, I will include all of the links that you need to reach either one of us in this recording. Until we meet again, may your cup overflow. Bye for now.